It's Rancher Mike's Morning Mailbag. He'll answer questions that you may have. It's Morning Mailbag, Morning Mailbag, Morning Mailbag with Rancher Mike and Tito.
Feliz Navidad and Merry Christmas, amigos. Welcome to this episode of Morning Mailbag with Rancher Mike. I hope that Santa was good to you last night and that you didn't end up with a stocking full of Kingsford. As always, I'm here with my little buddy Tito. You might think that Tito dressed up for the occasion. In actuality, he just got off of work. You see, Santa employs a special group of raccoons to help him get into some of those tight squeezes that he can't get into himself. And Tito's been helping Santa for many years. So the next time you're sneaking around on Christmas Eve to try and catch Santa and you see what you think is a little elf with pointy ears putting presents under your tree, you might want to look twice. It could very well be Tito or one of his friends. Then again, it could just be a wild raccoon in your house. Anyway, I've got my hot cocoa and I'm ready to take some morning mailbag questions from you all. But before we get to that, hey Tito, did I get anything from Santa? Thanks, buddy. I appreciate that. You even got my name on it and everything. And how did you make out, Tito? Did you get some good gifts too? Wow, Tito. I guess being one of Santa's helpers has its privileges. You made out like a bandit, amigo. No pun intended. All right, Tito. We'll open these gifts a little later, but for now, let's go ahead and answer some questions. What's the first question up today, Tito? Looks like Tito has his phone out. That must mean that this next question is coming to us from Facebook Messenger. Go ahead, Tito. That's a great question, Mary W. You know, I have about 25 chickens in my flock here at the ranch, and while that's not a whole lot, I find that in the winter months especially, the food costs can get pretty high. So for me, having mealworms as another source of protein is essential. And I find that raising mealworms doesn't take a whole lot of effort, as you've probably seen from some of my videos. With just a little bit of inputs in terms of carrots and wheat bran, and just a little bit of effort in terms of cleaning the bins periodically, really is kind of a self-sustaining system. So for me, mealworm farming is kind of a no-brainer. It doesn't take a whole lot of effort and I get a whole lot out of it, and my chickens seem to be really happy with the results too. Thanks for your question, Mary W. All right, Tito, what's next? Tito, what are you doing? Are you looking through Varmints Only again? Tito, I told you you're never going to find true love that way. Besides, we have a show to do. I need to get on with these questions so these folks can get back to opening Christmas gifts. What else you got for me? Thanks, pal. All right, this is a card from Pauline D. in Fort Worth, Texas. Let's see what Pauline wants to know. Oh, it's a nice card. Look at that. It says, thank you very much. Rancher Mike, thank you for all the wonderful content on your Rancher Mike YouTube channel. You're welcome. I understand that you do real estate as well. We have some property outside of Fort Worth, and my husband and I would like to sell. I know it's probably too far for you to help us directly, but I wondered if you had any good tips for us to consider. Thanks again, Pauline D. Thanks for your question, Pauline D. I appreciate that. It's true that I do real estate, and in my experience, I've seen quite a few things that folks do that make it harder for them to sell their property. So let's go over a few mistakes that folks make that I think can be easily rectified and will help you sell your property quicker. One of the biggest mistakes that sellers make is overpricing their property. The argument goes something like this. I'll start the price off high, and if I don't get a whole lot of action on the property, I'll go ahead and lower the price later. The fallacy of this argument is that an overpriced property will not attract as many buyers, will make competing properties look better, and will take a whole lot longer to sell. And even if you can find a buyer who's willing to pay for your overpriced property, if they're not an all-cash buyer and they need financing, you could have problems with the appraisal process. And if the buyer can't make up the difference between the loan amount that they're able to secure and your asking price, they're more than likely going to walk away. As a result, your property will sit on the market longer, and other potential buyers will start to think that there's something wrong with it, so they won't even come and see it or make an offer. So in the end, the seller who starts off too high may ultimately have to sell their property for less than what the current market would actually support, and that's no bueno. The easiest solution to this problem is to have a comparative market analysis done on the front end so that you have a better idea of what the market currently supports for properties that are similar to yours. Of course, this can be done with the help of a local realtor. If your property is really unique and a comparative market analysis isn't giving you enough information, you may actually want to have an appraisal done to really determine what your property will bring in the current market. That way, when you go to list your property, you have confidence that the market will support the list price. The second mistake that I see a lot of sellers making is not properly preparing their place for sale. Sounds kind of like a no-brainer, but a lot of these folks take the position of, why spruce it up if I'm going to get rid of it? If you went to the grocery store and the store manager placed things haphazardly and didn't bother to clean up the store just because you were going to take things home anyway, or if you went to a local restaurant and your plate of food was prepared in a sloppy manner because you're just going to eat it anyway, you probably wouldn't go back to either of those places. Well, I can guarantee that your property's going to get a lot more scrutiny than that. So take some time to make it look like $1 million, even if it's priced below that. Some simple things that you can do to put your property in the best possible light are simply to clean it from top to bottom, declutter living spaces to remove personal items and knickknacks, placing pets outdoors before the home is shown, deodorizing the home with air fresheners, or, if necessary, hiring a professional cleaning crew, and adding a fresh coat of paint to the interior or exterior. Just make sure that when you do, you use neutral colors. You don't want your place looking like Pee-wee's Playhouse. Remember, you don't get a second chance to make a first impression. The third mistake that I see some sellers making is hiding issues with their property. It may come as a surprise to first-time sellers that they have to disclose problems with their property on a form aptly called the seller's disclosure. While there are certain exceptions to this rule, for most transactions it's required. Another little-known fact is that real estate agents are prohibited from helping the sellers fill out the form. As a result, some sellers may fail to disclose prior treatments or damage to the property, or other issues that they're aware of that they don't deem to be major enough to bring to the attention of a potential buyer. As we say in these parts, that dog don't hunt. First of all, the inspector hired by the buyer prior to closing is more than likely going to find those hidden issues, and it's going to either cause the buyer to ask for you to make those repairs prior to closing, or the buyer will threaten to walk. And guess what? If the buyer does walk, your real estate agent now has a duty to tell future buyers about those very same issues. And if the inspector doesn't uncover those hidden issues and the buyer finds out about them later, well, amigos, I hate to say it, but you may find yourself in hot water, legally speaking. So your best bet is to disclose, disclose, disclose. An even better idea is if you're aware of something that needs to be repaired, you should probably go ahead and do that before you list your property and then disclose those repairs on the seller's disclosure, because no buyer wants to spend money to buy trouble. Another mistake that I see sellers making is not putting enough effort into their marketing strategy. Some sellers try to go the cheaper route and believe that the property will sell itself, so they just plop a sign in the front of their yard and call it a day. Well, that may have worked in the good old days, but now everything is digital and we're competing for eyeballs on the information superhighway. So how do you make your listing competitive? By providing eye-catching photos, video tours, drone footage, 3D renderings of the inside of your property, advertising on social media where appropriate. There's a lot of different ways that you can take advantage of all the digital content that's out there right now and make your property stand out amongst all the others. Buyers are super tech savvy these days, and anything that doesn't cut the mustard visually or provide enough digital information is very quickly out of sight and out of mind. Therefore, the best way to reach potential buyers is through a well-executed marketing strategy. This brings me to the final mistake that some sellers make, and that is trying to do it all on their own to save money. Well, if this video has shown you anything, it's that there are lots of potential pitfalls out there, and if you're trying to go it alone to save some dollars, you're penny wise but pound foolish. Using a real estate agent who knows the ropes has a lot of benefits. For one thing, real estate agents have access to a lot of different tools that can help get your property in front of the right buyers. In addition, sellers who try to sell on their own are frequently bombarded with unqualified buyers who just waste their time, while a good real estate agent will make sure that all buyers are pre-qualified before stepping foot on your property. In addition, a seller who uses an agent also benefits because he or she can use the agent as a buffer in negotiations, avoiding the pressure that comes from negotiating directly with a potential buyer. Perhaps most importantly, contract details are best facilitated by a properly trained real estate professional. Most people don't sell more than 1 or 2 properties in their lifetime, and so they're not as familiar with all of the contracts and other details that go along with selling a property. Real estate agents, on the other hand, stay up to date on laws, ethical issues, and other practical considerations that could affect the sale of your property. And trust me, that's not something that you want to learn on your own through trial and error. It's just not worth the risk. So this kind of brings us full circle on your question, Pauline D. How do you go about finding the right real estate agent in your area? Well, the first thing that I would look for, if I were you, is somebody who is actually a realtor. Some people believe that realtors and real estate agents are one and the same. That is not true. Only licensed real estate agents who are members of the National Association of Realtors can hold themselves out as a realtor. Realtors sign on to a higher code of ethics and hold themselves out to a higher standard of competence, professionalism, and service to their clients. So it's to your advantage to work with an actual realtor to protect yourself and provide you with the best possible representation in the sale of your property. So there you have it, Pauline D. Those are 5 things that I think you should seriously consider before you go to list your property. I wish you the best of luck, and I hope that you have tremendous success in selling your property in 2021. Well, Tito, I think that's all we're going to have time for today. I want to get to opening Christmas gifts, so... What's that? You've got something for me? Oh, you didn't have to. That was really nice of you, buddy. Thanks. Wow. Great job wrapping this gift, too. I can't wait to see what it is, Tito. A fork. Scissors. Nail clippers. My old knife. Tito, these are all things that I've been missing for the last few months. Ah, Tito. Well, I got something for you, too. Here you go. Merry Christmas. That's right, mittens. Now maybe you won't be able to do that 5-finger discount so easily anymore. All right, I hope you enjoyed this edition of Christmas Morning Mailbag with Rancher Mike. And if you have a question that you would like to be read on one of my future episodes, you can reach me at the social media links below, or if you prefer by snail mail, I have my P.O. box listed there as well. Again, I hope Santa was good to you, and until next time, take care, amigos.
If you like this video, be sure to give a big thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel for more great videos you love. Until the next time, be well, my friends.